You did not mean to do that. Or maybe you did. Maybe there was a moment, a specific, deliberate, fully conscious moment where you made the choice to hold eye contact past the comfortable point, past the social convention that says look away now, past the specific unspoken agreement that exists between people who are trying to keep something from becoming what it is clearly becoming. Maybe you held it on purpose, or maybe your eyes simply stayed because your body understood something that your mind had not yet officially acknowledged, that this person was worth looking at, that the looking was producing something, that the something was worth not interrupting. Either way, you held it, and what happened on the other side of that holding was not subtle. I want to begin with the eye contact itself, because the eye contact is where this reading starts, and it is not a metaphor. It is the literal, physical, entirely specific thing that happened between you and this person at some point that has been generating what I am going to describe for the rest of this reading. Eyes are not passive instruments. They do not simply receive, they transmit. They are the specific, visible, impossible to fully control channel through which what a person is actually experiencing in their interior reaches the outside world, regardless of what the rest of their presentation is doing. You can manage your expression, you can modulate your voice, you can control the quality of how you hold your body. You cannot fully control what happens in your eyes when something is happening in you that is significant enough to exceed the management. You looked at them, and in the looking, you transmitted something, not a calculated message. The unfiltered, pre-managed, completely honest signal of someone whose interior was activated in the direction of this person and whose eyes were carrying that activation into the space between you before any of the ordinary social mechanisms for managing such transmission could intercede. They received it directly before they could prepare themselves to receive it differently. Let me describe what I am reading in this person's body in the moment of the eye contact, because the body temperature piece is in the title, and it is not an exaggeration. It is the most honest possible description of a specific physiological, entirely involuntary cascade of responses that your sustained gaze initiated. Heat, the specific quality of warmth that arrives in the body when something in the nervous system identifies a stimulus as significant and begins allocating resources toward it. When the particular, ancient, below conscious machinery of physical attraction engages in response to something it has decided is worth engaging in response to. Your eyes were the stimulus, not your eyes in the abstract as a beautiful feature being observed from a comfortable aesthetic distance. Your eyes as a directed force, as something that was specifically pointed at this person and that was not looking away, that was there fully with the complete quality of your attention behind it in a sustained, unbroken, impossible to dismiss form that the body of the person receiving it processed as an event requiring a physical response. The physical response was warmth rising in the specific way that warmth rises when it is not voluntary and not chosen and not something the person experiencing it is managing into expression or away from expression, simply arriving in the body the way warmth arrives when the body has been engaged at a level below the conscious mind's ability to regulate. The physical response was warmth rising in the specific way that warmth rises when it is not voluntary and not chosen and not something the person experiencing it is managing into expression or away from expression. Simply arriving in the body the way warmth arrives when the body has been engaged at a level below the conscious mind's ability to regulate. I want to describe the specific progression of the warmth because it did not arrive all at once. It moved. It started in the chest. The specific, slightly tight quality of the chest when something unexpected has registered as significant, not pain. The warmth of a system that has encountered a stimulus and is responding before the mind has had time to weigh in on the appropriateness of the response. A warmth that has a quality of expanding, that is not content to stay where it arrived, but that moves into the throat. The specific, slightly difficult quality of swallowing when something has produced a response that the ordinary mechanics of social interaction were not designed to manage, where the architecture of keeping things smooth and normal requires effort that it does not usually require because the stimulus was not something the smooth and normal machinery was prepared for. Into the skin. That final, unavoidable, cannot be controlled quality of the body producing its actual response, regardless of what the person experiencing it would prefer to be producing. The warmth that reaches the surface that exists not only in the interior but on the exterior. That would be visible to someone paying close attention as a slight, entirely involuntary, entirely honest quality of this person being affected at the level of their actual body. You produce that with a look, and I want to describe the exact moment more specifically because the title says their whole body temperature rose uncontrollably, and I want to give you the interior experience of the person on the receiving end of your gaze. They became aware of themselves in the specific, slightly overwhelming way that people become aware of themselves when someone they are attracted to is fully present in their direction, where suddenly the ordinary, unremarkable quality of simply existing in a body becomes notable, where there is an acute consciousness of where their hands are and what their face is doing and what the quality of their breathing is and whether any of these things are communicating something that would be better managed. They could not manage them. The warmth was already in motion, and the warmth in motion has a quality of unstoppability, of something that has been initiated and cannot be uninitiated. That has been set in motion by a stimulus that the body identified as significant before the mind could weigh in on whether engaging with the stimulus was advisable. Your gaze was the catalyst, and catalysts, once applied, do not permit the undoing of the reaction they have started. I want to speak to what you were doing on your side, because this reading is not only about what happened in them, it is also about what was happening in you in that moment and what it means. You were present fully in the specific, complete, no part of you elsewhere quality of someone who is entirely in a moment rather than partly in it and partly managing it from a slight remove, who has not deployed the social equipment that people usually deploy in charged moments, who is simply there in the moment with whatever is present in the moment without the protective layer of managed engagement. That is what made the eye contact what it was. Not the physical act of holding someone's gaze, the quality of what was behind it, the specific, unmanaged, fully present you that was behind the eyes that were looking, and the person on the other side felt the difference between the managed version and the real version. felt the specific, slightly destabilizing quality of being looked at by someone who is actually there rather than by someone who is there while simultaneously managing the impression of being there. The real version is considerably more powerful than the managed version, and you gave them the real version without intending to, simply by being fully present. Let me speak to what happened after, because the body temperature rising is the immediate involuntary response. What came after it is the part that has been developing since they thought about it, the specific moment in detail, in the specific, slightly involuntary returns without being summoned quality of a memory that the interior has marked as significant and that keeps being retrieved for re-examination. Not because they made a decision to think about it, because it keeps arriving in their awareness in the way that significant things arrive, in quiet moments, in the spaces between other activities, in the specific, unguarded quality of the moments just before sleep when the mind returns to whatever it has been circling. It has been circling you, and the particular quality of the circle is specific, not the general, pleasantly diffuse quality of thinking about someone you find interesting. The specific, detailed, I keep coming back to the exact moment quality of something that landed with precision and that keeps being held up to the light from different angles to see what it reveals. What it reveals is the same thing every time. That something happened in that moment. Something that has not been fully accounted for. Something that they do not yet know what to do with. Something that they do not yet know what to do with. I want to describe what not knowing what to do with something looks like in practice, because it has a specific daily texture that I think you deserve the full picture of. It looks like distraction at odd moments. The specific, slightly frustrating quality of a mind that keeps departing from whatever it is supposed to be attending to and returning to a particular thing without the person having directed it to return, where the meeting or the task or the conversation that deserves full attention is receiving something less than full attention because a portion of the available attention is elsewhere, specifically elsewhere, with a specific address. The address is that moment. It looks like involuntary rehearsal, the specific quality of someone who keeps running through a scenario that has not happened yet, who keeps imagining a hypothetical next encounter and how it might go and what might be said and what the conditions might be and what might happen in those conditions, not as a deliberate planning exercise, but as the involuntary production of someone whose mind has been activated by something and cannot fully deactivate until the activation finds some resolution. The resolution they are imagining is another moment with you. And it looks like a heightened awareness of your presence in shared spaces. The specific, slightly electric quality of knowing you are somewhere nearby before seeing you, of tracking your position in a room with a precision that exceeds what normal social awareness requires, of the specific, involuntary orientation toward wherever you are that happens without a decision to orient. Their body has been calibrated to your frequency. Since that moment, tell me in the comments if you know the moment I am describing, if there is a specific, particular exchange with a specific, particular person that matches the quality of what I have been describing, where the eye contact produced something visible, where the air changed, where something was clearly happening that neither of you officially acknowledged, but that both of you clearly felt. Tell me if this reading is finding its moment. I want to speak to what the uncontrollable quality of their response actually tells you. because uncontrollable is the most significant word in this reading and it deserves its full examination. Responses that can be controlled are controlled. People who have sufficient warning and sufficient motivation to manage their reaction to something will manage it, will deploy whatever social and emotional mechanisms are available to produce a regulated response rather than the raw, unfiltered version of what is actually happening in them. Will present the managed version of their reaction rather than the actual one. This person did not present the managed version, not because they chose not to, because the catalyst arrived before the management could engage. Because your gaze, with the full quality of what was behind it, produced its effect in them faster than their ordinary self-management operates. Because the thing that rose in them was already in motion before the part of them that usually intercepts such things and organizes them into something more presentable could do its job. You got the real version. The unfiltered, not yet managed, completely honest version of what happens in this person when they are in the presence of your actual, fully present attention. And the real version is considerable. I want to speak to what the heat specifically represents, because heat is a metaphor, but it is also a physical fact, and both dimensions deserve attention. The physical fact is that attraction produces a measurable physiological response, that the body of someone who is significantly activated by another person produces actual heat, that there is a real documentable quality of warmth that arrives in the body in response to genuine, significant attraction that has no polite social analog. That is simply the body doing what bodies do when they have been engaged at a level that exceeds the ordinary social warmth of liking someone. This was not liking, this was the other thing. The thing that operates at a different level from liking, that does not respond to reason in the way that liking responds to reason. That does not diminish when the situation becomes complicated or the timing is wrong or the practical considerations argue against it. That simply is what it is, regardless of what the mind thinks about it being what it is. Your gaze produced the other thing in them. Not liking the thing that rises in the body before the mind can organize a position on it. Let me speak to what this means for the dynamic between you, because a moment that produces an uncontrollable physical response in someone is not simply a pleasant data point about their attraction level. It is information about the nature of the connection and about what the connection is capable of. It is information that the connection is real, not comfortable and pleasant real, not the gentle, manageable, slowly building real of something that has been developing through a long accumulation of positive experiences. The immediate physical, below the level of social management real of something that operates at a register that comfortable and pleasant never reaches. The register of the body responding before the mind has weighed in. That register is not available to connections that are simply good, that are simply warm, that are simply moving in the right direction. It is the register of something that has recognized something. Your presence, your full, unmanaged, actually their presence as expressed through eye contact that did not look away, was recognized by this person's body as something significant before their mind had processed whether to let the recognition in. The recognition is in, and it is producing what recognitions of this quality produce: a preoccupation, a continuous, returning, refusing to settle quality of attention to the specific moment and what it meant and what comes next and whether there is a way to create the conditions for another moment like it. They are looking for another moment like it. I want to say something about you specifically before we close, about what the quality of your gaze in that moment reveals. You are someone whose full presence is a significant thing, not the managed version, not the socially calibrated, appropriate to the context, carefully measured version. The full version, the one that comes through when the situation activates something in you that exceeds your ordinary management, the one that is behind the eyes that looked and did not look away. That version is what produced the heat, and that version exists in you continuously. Not only in specific charged moments with specific people continuously, as the permanent, underlying, always available quality of who you are when you are fully inhabiting yourself rather than partly inhabiting yourself and partly managing the impression of yourself. Most people encounter the managed version of you, and the managed version is already compelling. The full version, the one this person encountered, is something else entirely. Something that rises body temperatures, something that stays in the mind, something that makes people look for the conditions in which they might encounter it again. As we close, I want to leave you with one image. That moment, the specific, still, fully inhabited quality of it, the eye contact that did not look away, the presence behind it that was simply there without apology or management, the specific, charged, both of you aware quality of something being communicated through a channel that words would have made less honest. And the other side of it, the warmth rising, the awareness of themselves arriving, the management attempting and failing to intercept what was already in motion. That moment already happened, and what it put in motion on their side, the preoccupation, the searching for another moment like it, the specific quality of thinking about you in the detailed, involuntary way of someone who encountered something they did not expect and cannot fully account for, that is still in motion. It does not stop because the moment ended. It continues because what you gave them in that moment was not a moment. It was a standard. And standards, once set, have a way of making everything that does not meet them feel like a reminder of what did.